Save the King.
It is actually one of the official national anthems of New Zealand, but I'm not intending to do that here, if only to save people from my singing voice.
Did you want to recital for us?
What are you guys doing? Are we standing up now?
We're going to stand up.
We're just going to stand up shortly. We are now live on YouTube for your information. And so tēnā koutou katoa, ko oto karo rawa ko apoko waho na awa, ko ihu tai te moana, ko Waitai te hapori i ngā paenga o tātou e mahi nei, ko mātuka ingoa. Ko au te marakura o tēnā koare, nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome everybody. My name's Mark, the Chief of the Waitai Community Board, which encompasses the Linwood, Burwood and Coastal wards. If you'd like to join us now for Tanga, this will be up on the board, up on the screens. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te ura, ia mā tēnā ki uta, ia mā taratara ki tai, i te ana te atoraka, i te o i uka, i te haurunga, te rei mōria. Thank you, everybody. So the first we have, do we have any apologies? And that includes for leaving early or anything like that. We don't. So next is any declarations of interest. Does anybody have any declarations of interest they wish to make in any items? All right. Now we move to confirmation of previous minutes for the previous meeting on the 13th of April. Do we have any additions or corrections? Okay, no. Would someone like to move? Moved by Greg, seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. All right, so now we move to the public forum. I think we have the Christchurch Archery Club. And so we have Dave and Hannah. Hello. With the public forum, you have 5 minutes, including questions.
Yeah.
So if you like someone to ask you some questions, then give us a little bit of time at the end, and we will.
Anyway, good.
Otherwise, feel free to share with us.
Okay.
Welcome. Yeah.
Kiera, do you want to go? Oh, do you have the phrase? Yep, that button.
Hannah's in charge today, so I'll let Hannah make the move, please. Thank you.
Pihe moriora, ko se mon bai toko ingoa whano. Ko hana taku ingoa no reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, greetings everyone. So I'm here today to thank the council for extending the lease for Christchurch Archery Club for a few more years. So we're just updating you with what's happening on Rafferty Domain. So the lease extension has made a very significant impact, positive impact on the club, its members, and also the community. For example, it has allowed the club to provide more opportunities for the community, such as have-a-go sessions, free of charge. So most recently, we did one for the Amputees Federation, and we'll be doing more for Cohipa. So they're not paying for any session, and we're doing it as part of our community give back. And also, most importantly, they have been supporting Aotearoa Adaptive Archery. It's an organization that I run for children and adults with disabilities. I have been funded, thankfully, by Sport Canterbury. But Christchurch Archery Club has supported me by allowing me to utilize the facilities for free, which means that I save a lot of costs on running the program. And it has allowed me to expand my services to include more disabled children and more adults, and not just those with physical disabilities, but also those with mental disabilities. So the council would have, you should have received some of our photos that we have provided. And one of them is a PDF by Theo that we have. Theo's mom has provided an interview of Theo and his progress in the last 2.5 years since he has joined Adaptive Archery and since become a member of Christchurch Archery Club. So the club's membership since has expanded and is now open almost every day, and has seen an increase in use by club members and partner organizations, including other community organizations such as Hallberg Foundation. And the club is seeing more younger members, more disabled members, and more females from Christchurch and wider Christchurch, including the Waimakariri and Selwyn districts, participating. And the flexibility of timing means that it can cater to the differing schedules for everyone. So we are currently in the process of designing and planning out our new building at the new location. It is a very exciting opportunity for all of us to utilize the space available so that we can use it for to do more for the community and for the sport. So we're planning to build a national training center on par with international counterparts, so that our own international archers from all over New Zealand can come to Otautahi to utilize the space and train indoors even during bad weather events. As you all would know, the weather events in New Zealand has been very iffy. So the center can also be potentially a multi-use arena where other organizations and sports such as Hallberg Foundation can use for their own events such as the Hallberg South Games. And we can potentially also hold the international competitions such as the Commonwealth for archery in the future, if we get it built on time. So just wrapping up, so this is where we're at, and we like to thank the board once again for the past 30 over years in New Brighton and for letting us stay for another couple of years. And as a thank you and also an early farewell, we would like to extend an invitation to all the board members to have a go at archery on the house.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you, Kira.
Oh, thank you very much. We have time for a question. Does anybody want to ask one? Kelly.
Can you tell us a little bit, very briefly, about your new site and how that's progressing?
I shall pass this today.
This one here. Yes, it's progressing nicely. We have the ground developed. It's approximately 6.5 hectares, and we've got that developed. When I say we've got it developed, it's about 90% developed. And then we have a building committee ready to make a move on the building. But like everything else, funding is the issue. So we are having a bigger hill to climb, but we are determined to try and to get to that our goal of building this centre.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and do appreciate you coming to the board. And yeah, all the best for your development.
Kira.
Thank you.
And we'll take that
Thank
for
you very much.
Just spend the time.
Come to council for funding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's really neat. And we also have Katrina Sutherland, who's a Woolston resident, who's here to talk to us about some issues on Rutherford Street and around. I saw that Katrina had organised a meeting on Rutherford Street around some issues, and got in touch with her, and she's keen to come and share a variety of issues she has in that area. For those of you who aren't familiar, Rutherford Street runs from Ferry Road and down to the bridge over the Heathcote, which turns into Garland Road. All right, Katrina, well, yeah, you've very kindly sent us through some information too. So if you press the little person with the sound coming out of their face.
Okay. Yes, I'm the representative all of a sudden for Rutherford Street residents. So I met with an NZTA gentleman regarding we were having issues with massive vibrations that were actually making our houses move. So that's how this started. In the process, we found some concerns, some issues that everyone was agreeing on. First one being heavy traffic volume. We've noticed a massive increase in heavy vehicles, especially the B train, the double carriage ones. We are very interested to know if we could get some support maybe to see why, if some of these trucks that are actually going to Littleton, why they can't carry on from Dyers Road to the roundabout through and down the tunnel road to Littleton rather than using Rutherford Street stretch. With that, that's an NZTA thing, so we would need support to go to them. So it's how to communicate that out. We had issues with engine brakes. That's an NZTA. The representative said that they have a person, a community, a truck organisation that they go through that they can pass those concerns on. Speed was another factor, and our concerns here is we have a proposal we'd like, again, it's an NZTA road, so we need the support for this, as well as to have Palineris Road reduced, which runs from Dyers Road to Ferry Road. Currently it's 70k. Vehicles still continually do 70k into Rutherford Street, but now we've also got the Woolston Village that's now gone from a 50k zone to a 30k zone. And nobody slows down to 30 from the 70 into 30. So and there's a school there and a church. So that's our concern there. And so that's why we'd like, that's our real big proposal. However, we would like to, if possible, extend that to Dyers Road, maybe reducing Dyers Road itself from 60 to 50, from 70 to 60, just because that's getting really very busy road as well, and just a lot of trying to get out of a lot of the other streets up a bit further is just as hard to do so. So that one we would need support on for both those. The other thing on speed was nobody doing 30k in the Woolston Village. We did ask about a speed camera. Apparently that's not quite their area, and that is a city council initiative. So we were wondering if that was a possibility from you guys. Car parking is another thing. Now we're getting, in the last 6 months, we've had about 35 new of these high density townhouses built just in the Ferry Road to the Rutherford Street Bridge section. This is now causing, because they don't come with garages, car parking issues on the road, which is now, so I discussed that with the NZTA guy. They're happy to mark white lines 1 metre from driveways so as to show the parking, but they can't do that until the new cycle lane proposal was to go ahead, which none of us know about, and that's something that us residents would like to know more about from the City Council. That's what we were talking. Is it?
It's a mix.
Well, yeah, he sort of said it was, he didn't know anything. He was waiting for that. I think they were waiting for you guys to give them some.
Yes, so it's so we will be having a briefing from the TA, as I've mentioned to you, to raise these issues. So it's really helpful to have you bringing this to the attention of the whole board, to show that it's not just us that has these concerns.
Yeah. So yeah, so they're happy to do that fix for us, but it can't happen until the cycle lane proposal's gone ahead and done. They can then mark them out afterwards. He did indicate it possibly might mean reduced parking, which isn't even going to be a wee problem with our increased number of townhouses. But the cycle lane at the moment is currently quite a scary place for cyclists and ourselves coming out because of people parking across driveways. It makes it very hard for us to pull between them and try and see if there's a cycle coming, especially when at the moment there are a lot of larger vehicles and you can't see over them or through them. So those there. The other option, the other thing was someone asked about rezoning part of the, so I think years ago we were commercial because it wasn't very residential then, but now with all these houses being built, wondering if from Garland's Road, from the bridge there near the tannery to Ferry Road, if that was classed definitely as fully residential and then it's commercial on the Garland's Road side.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the process, or we don't know what the process is
so,
to go about that one.
unfortunately, we have come to the end of our time, but I will respond to that before we before I move on to the next item. But I think if I understand correctly, that area of Rutherford is zoned commercial, industrial something like that, commercial residential,
Something,
yeah. So, of course, it's all residential and becoming more so. So that would be something that would be addressed through either a plan change or a council initiated plan change or a private plan change. But what we are looking at, and the council, the staff are working on, is a change around the industrial residential fringe, which is that area to try and stop some of that heavy activity like the containers, which I know also affect.
Yeah, and we had that scrap metal yard as well, just
Yes.
around further.
Yeah, so activities like that, which clearly shouldn't be happening right in your houses. Yeah. So are you right to continue feedback some more information from you and your neighbours to us in the next couple of weeks, so that when we talk to NZTA, we can respond to your questions?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, right. So thank you, Katrina, and
Right.
really appreciate both organising that meeting with your neighbours and also coming and sharing with us.
no, that's fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now just double check. I don't think we have the youth development report back or the Avon Park public forum. No. Okay. Well, in that case, we'll move on to the staff reports.
All the guardians.
Pardon?
All the guardians.
Yeah, no, sorry, I already knew that wasn't
Oh, you knew that.
on the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have no deputations, no petitions. We have, so the first staff report is the DRF application of PIPs. That's Jackie's report. Now, Jackie, did you want to give us any background, or are you happy for us to take that as read?
Yeah, happy to accept any questions, take questions from
All right.
board members.
Or any questions? I mean, I know that PIPs is a organisation that the council's been funding off and on for a long time.
Yep.
They do really good work.
They do indeed, and this is their new facility. They haven't been in this space for all that long, so it's around kind of preparing it and responding to community needs. So this storage space that they've got is getting a little bit more structure to it, so that their volunteers can use the space efficiently and safely.
Jackie's happy to move.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Tim.
Just for PIPs or both of the applications?
Do you want both of it, Jackie?
Yeah.
Well, I was
Jackie?
just doing PIPs. Now there's a motion on the table. So this is for PIPs. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right. Thanks. So then the next one is around the Linwood Rugby League. Did you give us background on that?
Yes, and so this club have put in a strengthening communities application, but obviously there's urgent demand for this application. So that's what's coming to the DRF because they Canterbury Rugby League set up this new tournament for females, and they got a very good response to that. So it was around then saying, well, how do we resource the teams? And specifically it was about the uniforms. So they did start a weekend ago and having to use the uniforms that they've got. And he said that's kind of not really ideal. So they're making do, but so they got this application in as soon as they could, and this is the earliest we could get this application to the board, but really just seeking the support. Just to note that we don't typically fund uniforms through the Strengthening Communities Fund because I think we'd be overwhelmed, and that's been kind of the case for a long time. But I think given this is the discretionary response fund, that it's your call. And I think given that it's an emergent need, it's about really supporting young women into sport, which is something that Sport New Zealand are really encouraging us to do. Then it's about just providing them with the necessary equipment, and that is the uniform that they can participate. Yeah. So the first aid kits are necessary equipment as well.
Well, that's awesome, really. I mean, I'm happy to move that. But do we have any? Is that seconded by? Yang, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Cool, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Totally understand the need for us to contribute funding to this. But I just wanted to know if we checked with Sport Canterbury or Sport New Zealand, because I'm aware that they've set up a whole bunch of funds to enable greater participation with a diverse range of people in sports. And it would seem that we should also consider them funding as well. So is there any
Yeah.
discussions that have been had with those other funders?
Yes, not in particular for this application, because I think time was urgent, and it was around trying to get an application in and responding to that as quickly as possible. As I said, they've already started their season, so they're kind of using old uniforms. But I think that's something they're going to look at going forward.
Well, it'd be awesome if they could send us a photo of them all wearing their new gear.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It'd be quite cool.
First aid kits.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. All right. I'll put that now. Celeste. Put that now. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you very much, Jackie. Yeah, I'm sure they'll appreciate the quick turnaround too. So now we move on to the community board plan, which is from Chris. I just preface this by saying that we put in a lot of work and so staff into this, and I think it's turned out really well. It's not going to have everything that we all want in it, and nor can it. But I think we've done a really good job. I do ask that if anybody does want to make any changes, then it's restricted to simple one word changes, like where you think that it's very important. So not wordsmithing, because I think that was not a good use of our time, which is effectively the public's time. But really anything, if there is an amendment to anywhere that it's very specific. What I don't want to have is a debate around whole new insertions, and those, if they were to be suggested, they may or may not be in order. So with that in mind, first, is it a question, or should we hear from Chris first?
Oh, it was just two small sort of changes.
Okay, all right, just meditate on those changes and consider whether they are necessary. All right, is this a process question?
I'm not process question about this. I can build up to Chris.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say other than to echo what you said. From my perspective as staff, it's been a really good process that we've gone through with you, and sort of drawing up from scratch effectively. Lots of workshops, lots of briefings, but lots of good collaboration around the table. So it's, from that perspective, it's been a good process. The version that you see in there, obviously it's gone through design, so it's largely, it's mocked up. I think it looks like a good plan. It's got a good mix of asking for capital support from council, as well as projects in there that the local team can work on as well. So I think there's a really good balance in there in terms of deliverability. That's all from me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Chris. Alex, you had a question.
Yeah, I think I just want to hear everyone's thoughts on when under the board plan section where it talks about you write a mill and it says support the progression of the RMAB extension, including investigation of all options.
What page?
Item number 8 or page 11 of the board plan. Because in the past we've heard talks of sometimes they're like, oh, maybe we get on with this part of it. So I guess I just want to know if everyone thinks that implies that means in full rather than.
I think that it implies that we are going to, but so it depends what the words RMAB extension means, right?
Yeah.
If the RMAB extension means extending the RMAB in full, then yeah. But I think that's the only reasonable reading, and that's certainly what I think it means.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I think it means that and you think it means that, I suspect that everybody else in the room thinks it means that.
Okay,
That's right. Great. Yanni.
Yeah, just three very, very minor changes. Just in the first section where we talk about just on page 37 of our agenda, we do make reference to the serve, but I also think we should make reference to streets for people. And just if you go back up to page.
One thing at a time, please. Okay, let's do one thing at a time. 37, advocate for the acceleration and timely completion of craft and surf projects. don't streets, you mean streets for people Aranui?
Yeah.
That is mentioned in another bullet point, I believe. Yep. We made sure that was added. We all agree that should be added.
Yeah. So I thought it wouldn't hurt just to have it.
Well, there's no point in repeating if it's already there.
Oh, okay, well, because we do refer to the craft ones earlier as well, so this is kind of the
Yeah, but
the problem. So that's why I was also going to raise page 34. We talk about advocate for progress on the craft funded projects, which I agree with. I mean, obviously, but I thought we should put surf and streets for people on there as well. So very minor changes, but it's just to kind of be consistent.
Because that's the preface, and then there is the bullet points, right? So, and this is why I asked if it was necessary. Like it, I don't know if is there anything that isn't already
Surfer together now, right? We know that they've had a sort of unholy marriage, and we don't quite know, like Bromley as well. We don't quite know who's doing what or what our role is, but it would be good to make sure that they all get done.
Yes.
So I just thought there should be one point in this that does talk about all of them, and I agree, we don't need to replicate stuff through the document.
So if
it's literally just adding like 3 words. So
yes, it is, but you know that 3 words can turn into 300 words. So advocate for acceleration and timely completion of craft streets for people Aranui and surf projects. Right, that's going to
37, and then
that's on page 37.
Yeah.
So hold on. And so Yanni, you are moving. Are you happy to move? So you move that insertion of comma after craft Aranui streets for people, comma. It's already got projects at the final end of the sentence. So now we're going to wait until Cindy says we can go. Next one.
So CERF.
It's already got surf. Surf is in the sentence.
That's page 34. I'm doing up page 37.
This is 37.
Page 37.
Now we're doing 34. Oh, okay. Sorry, have I got them wrong along the way?
So one page at a time, one sentence at a time.
34, sorry.
And let's try and avoid this being a parody of local government. All right. So you want it, and what do you want on page 34?
Sorry, it was just that the surf and streets for people on. So
I don't think we need to have it twice.
oh, okay, should we take the craft ones out of there as well?
No, hold on. The consistency is or not. Look, okay, please. That is an unnecessary change. I don't think that if we go and look through a fine-tooth comb and look to try and make it you're going to drive me and Cindy nuts. So can you please make it sure they're important and meaningful changes rather than, and so I've conceded that on the first instance, but then to take out stuff, I just don't think it's necessary.
No, so that's what I was saying. So I think where we do reference like the craft transport projects, we should just be consistent rather than have it either mentioned twice or only part mentioned in one and not the other. So my preference would just be mention them in both because we're referring to it twice in the thing. But
so you would like, so to clarify, you would be happy if we just inserted and surf?
Yeah.
Okay, can we insert and surf after craft on page 34? Right. It's better.
And 2 other very, very simple things. One is thank you for whoever laid it out. It looks really good. I just wondered about the front. Appreciate we've got the message from the chair, but I thought it'd be nice to have the combined board photo at the front of the document as well. In the first, there's a little on page 28, just on page 3 of the document. Maybe you could just put a nice board photo.
I'd be more than happy for that.
And the final one was just related to the community wood planning from 1998 that I did send around, but can we put the list of capital projects that are going to be delivered this term? Because it's quite helpful.
You haven't signed off on the annual plan yet.
But we currently have a long-term plan that currently has projects
Yeah,
in
but
it.
it could change.
Well, this can be updated. It's pretty easy to.
Okay, so
as a digital
so you
document,
could,
but
if
Is there a way that we could show the capital program and the years of which the projects that we've got, mentioned?
my suggestion to Yanni is that you include in this that a list of capital projects within the board area be added to the electronic version after the annual plan has passed, and then when the LTP is passed. How's that?
Yeah, it's fine. Stuff I have to have that noted or requested, that'd be good.
Okay, hold on.
And just to thank staff for the work that they've done on this on the board.
So Alex and then Celeste. I think, so that's your amendment, Yanni, that's you moving. Someone happy to second that?
Yep.
Seconded by Tim. All right, I'll put that now. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So it's moved by Yanni, seconded by Tim. So that way, and now Alex, do you have anything?
Yeah, another question for Chris, maybe change depending on the answer to the question. CRAFRA, that's Crown funded.
Yes.
Could we add that into the glossary of terms, because it doesn't mention that it's funded by Crown? And I feel like if people are reading it, it may actually
It's very helpful, thank you.
provide a bit more information.
Yes, I think with CRAF and SUV and Streets for People, it should be added that it's funded by the Crown.
Surf is, but CRAF isn't.
Yeah.
In the glossary of terms, that's in that. So
Yeah,
surf really says
so that just, that can be a note.
And a separate note to the one you just resolved?
Well, no,
Or was it the resolution of full amount?
so that what we just resolved, which was moved by Yanni and seconded by Tim, that included that note.
Right.
So if we just we'll add that note, and I think that's not controversial at all. So we'll just move on to the next. Celeste.
Very one word. It's just, if possible, change support completion to support progression. Master plan.
And that's on the New Brighton.
That's on page 11.
Of the plan rather than the agenda.
Plan.
Yeah, 11. Yep, there we go. So that is support. Top bullet point.
Yeah.
Alter, replace completion with progression.
Can we ask why? Well, I'm wondering why is the only thing, because I don't want it to start on some parts of the master plan and other stuff just get left out. Sure.
Because we can say that we have actually succeeded in getting it progressed, and if we don't get it completed.
Well, the Rome / New Brighton wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
And the item, completions, the goal.
Yeah.
And then just the only other thing would be, and we will measure our success by the paragraph down, talks about collaborating and delivering as one project. I just wondered whether we should remove as one project and just say to coordinate delivery of the upgrade, because we might not end up doing it as one project. So we'll be probably doing a
So where is this? Sorry, collaborate.
Collaborate with key stakeholders, local businesses, communities. Yeah.
Paragraph 3 under we will measure our success. So it's just deletion of the last 3. So under
Kind of in line with capital A on the right side.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Third point down on the New Brighton Mall page, which says we'll measure our success.
Yeah.
Page 36.
And then the very last 3 words of point 3 under we will measure our success says as one project.
Yeah.
And so it's just saying cut those last 3 words.
And just say to coordinate delivery of mall, upgraded.
And council to deliver upgrade of the mall full stop. Is that what you're trying to say?
To maybe just say to coordinate delivery. I don't know how you words with that, but it's basically just saying that we might not end up doing this as one project.
I think what Cindy said, just like the full stop after all.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that would be easy to. All right, so is this on a new page or a different page?
Sorry?
Well, possibly easier. Does anybody have any disagreement with any of that? That would, otherwise, because it's easy, if there is going to be debate, I'll move it separately. No? All right. Kelly.
So on page 35, under the heading improve access to community facilities, I'd like to have improve access to Burwood community facilities specifically. I noticed that Bromley traffic project is mentioned, that New Brighton Mall is mentioned. If we're quite specific about other things, and so
No, that's fine.
the two community
They are in Burwood.
are in Burwood.
Yeah.
If there were others, that'd be cool. But they're not.
No problem with that at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got that?
I think so.
All right. Any further changes? All right. Thank you. That was relatively painless. I appreciate that and your the considered changes. So I will move those changes. Anybody like to second them? Oh, Kelly.
Thank you.
Put that now. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
That we now have a board plan. Well, now we've got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, we weren't planning on that, were we?
And when we finish it in 2 months, we can maybe.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's not a problem if we manage to get it all done, or the council managed to get it all done. So now we have the Waitai Coastal-Burwood-Linwood Community Board Service Awards. And that is a public excluded item.
So the board decision isn't public excluded. However, if we're going to discuss the recipients, then we need to go into public excluded.
Yeah. So we will pass a resolution, but because we're going to discuss the natural persons under the Local Government Official Information Meetings Act, we need to do that in private to protect those privacy. So I ask any members of the public if you could leave, please.
Thank you.
Have
a good day.
Sorry too. Thank you. If you could close the door after you, that would. Yep. All right, we,
We're going back to me again.
yes. Hello to those of you who've been waiting for us to come out of public excluded. We've had a fruitful discussion. And now I'm going to ask if somebody would be willing to move that resolution. Moved by Joe and seconded by Celeste. Just lost out there, Alex.
All right.
I'll put that now. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right, thank you everybody. Look forward to that award ceremony. The next item is item number 10, about the community board representation on outside organisations and committees to stretch for people Aranui connections. We so when we were briefed about this, it was suggested that having the local councillor so that they could be part of it from the beginning of the process to the end when the council will approve the council parts of it would be really advantageous. So on that basis, I would be happy to move that we nominate Kelly. Do you have a question? So you second Kelly. Any discussion? Kelly, you're happy to do that? Yep, happy to do that. Any further discussion? No, all right, I'll put that now. So moved by Alex and seconded by Tim. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Cool. Thank you, Kelly. And yeah, if you could just update the board after you go to your meetings, that would be helpful for us.
I'm assuming probably contact the
I assume that you will be.
To Google it.
Yeah.
Please do.
And now we have our board area report. Chris.
Very much happy to take the report as read. Lots of good information from the team in there that they're sharing with you. So here's the questions for you, Chair.
All right, any questions? Is that you, Jan? Yep.
Just wondering, do we have any update on the Bromley traffic project?
In what sense?
Like what's happening with the communication, the e-newsletters, how we're communicating to the community over what's going on, what projects are being worked on. I mean, I'm just mindful that we've basically got a month and a half left to spend all the money, and I don't know where it seems to be.
So you put those questions in just last week, I think it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll get a response back through your normal channels. I haven't got the answers here today.
Do we have any sense of like things are progressing on it? Because I was concerned at the crack briefing that we were told that there'd been 6 intersections already agreed.
And it's not something I can just answer off the top of my head, sorry.
Okay.
So I mean, I know that there's been, yeah, I don't know if there's been any progress or not either. Rory, do you know anything?
I think yeah, like I say, still in catch up mode from being away. So once I've caught up with all the people on the team, then yeah.
Can we ask to get copies of like the e-newsletters that have been sent out so we can kind of be kept in the loop?
Do we have any other questions? Thank you. It's a very fulsome report. Lots happening in our communities, and you know, there's sorts of various letters and things like that. But yeah, I don't have any at this stage. Not going once. All right. Well, if we someone like to move that we receive that report.
I do.
Moved by Tim, seconded by Greg. All those in favour say aye.
Discussion.
What? Your
Discussion.
Yes.
Very good. I just wanted to thank staff for their support around that Impact Day commemorations, and also just to especially acknowledge Jackie for her work on tidying up Linwood League Park, the pavilion, ahead of some home games for the Linwood Kias. I just want to acknowledge, thank you, Jackie, because it was, yeah, I really appreciate at short notice getting the pavilion tidied up and the support that Jackie's providing to help the Linwood Kias, who, as you've seen, come into their report are doing really good things, have huge membership, especially with the women's teams. But it is important that we do what we can to support, and Jackie helped get the booking tidied up, which hadn't been maintained for about 3 or 4 years, it looked like. So just wanted to acknowledge the work that started.
Kelly?
Yeah, I just want to second thanks to staff for the work they did in getting wreaths for us to Anzac Day. It's really good. It always is, but yeah, always appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and on that, I just acknowledge Tim's work again in organising the Aranui Anzac service, which is really cool to be at. Yeah, just Anzac service, having been away from these kinds of things, so it was yeah, it was really cool, nice, down to earth. And yeah, thanks to Yana for bringing that. What's the word? Wreath. Yeah, for bringing the wreath, and it's cool to be able to lay it as a community board. Cool. All right. Well, we'll move on now to elected members' information exchange. Just a reminder to keep Cindy from having to remind us that if we want to take any action based on this, we want to, which is requesting information, then we need to agree as a whole board to do that. We can't just list the items and then and it be followed up. So there needs to be a resolution to request information. And does anybody want to start us off? Just before we do, it would be much appreciated if we finish by 6 o'clock, since we don't have any other formal items on the agenda. I had something that I would like to be able to get to if I can.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's been quite a bit happening in the Burwood. Some of you will know that Greg and I and Joe attended a meeting run by the Burwood Students Association, BERA, last Wednesday night at Fixie Church in Burwood. We had Sergeant Roy Apley come along and talked for an hour answering residents' questions, some which had been harvested from a meeting 2 weeks before that. If you haven't seen the video, which is online on various council and community board members' sites, it's actually really, really good. He goes through the type of cars that get taken, how you can mitigate that. He talks about how to deal with offenders, etc. It was a really good, robust time, I thought.
It's good, eh?
Yeah, Roy is very good, and yeah, he actually came in on his day off, basically, to do that because he's recovering from an incident. But yeah, it was really worthwhile. So I'd encourage you that. It's about an hour long, but there's some really good stuff in there. Also, Greg and I participated yesterday in a Burwood cleanup with a group called it's a World Youth Missionary Church. They're based in Shuley, just opposite the Palms, but every few weeks they get together and they do a cleanup and they liaise with council. So we had Claudia from council bring along a van and a trailer, and we did a rubbish pickup in the Denell Park area around New Brighton Road. I was gobsmacked about how much rubbish we got just from that small area. But you know, the place looks really good. It's really good to be a part of. Very satisfying, and yeah, great to see that there are groups like that actually operating and doing cleanups in the area. There was something else I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, I've actually had a phone call from some residents who were very concerned about the crossing in Breezes Road. I think Tim, you might have heard a little bit about that, the school crossing. Yeah, there was an incident there, and they wanted to talk about the, Joe, you got copied as well. They wanted to talk about the safety requirements. So it's kind of interesting that I've just been appointed to the Safe Streets Aranui project, because that would definitely be something that I want to have a look at. It's, yeah, people drive along there really quick, and yeah, we need a better way to protect pedestrians and I would say cyclists. Anyway, so that's just part of what I've been up to.
Thank you, Kelly. Al? I meant to.
I used to do that all the time.
Oh, I went to move back from my chair,
Yeah.
and I slipped and banged my shin. Celeste.
I just quickly, it's just a request for information. I've sent through an email, but it's just, we've had a number of different queries around freedom camping, and I understand that the bylaw sets in place certain restrictions, but I think there's some confusion around how that's been monitored. I wondered if we could request a briefing at some point from who the managers at, so we understand what the process is. Because I'm not quite sure how the patrols work and how, because the coastline from a visitor point of view is seen as sort of one space, whether we're doing the right things to kind of manage it appropriately, especially in the high season. So if we can do some planning now, hopefully we'll be better prepared in the busy seasons of the summer.
Yeah, I think if we're going to get a briefing closer to the time that close to the beginning of summer is probably the best time.
One of the reasons we're looking, I was keen to get the briefing now is because there has been an initial discussion around an alternative site for some of the freedom camping. So something that we want to kickstart potentially now. So just understanding whether what we've got in place is working, where the gaps are, and then if there needs to be some alternatives looked at, such as places in the red zone, and some of those conversations have begun. So would you get a bit of a background, it would be really helpful for the board, I think.
Yeah. I guess I'm just aware that we have a whole bunch of things piling up. So if we can schedule it a bit rather than doing it now-ish, if we can do it soonish, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, thank you.
Alex.
Sorry,
And-
just to
and then-
clarify, do we have the support of the board, and then I can officially record and request that?
Do we have any? Well, I'll opt out rather than opt in. Do we have any objection to having a briefing about that in the medium term? So sometime, bearing in mind that we have things that are more urgent that we need to schedule soon. Does anybody have any? No. Okay. Yep. So sorry, Alex, then Joe, and then Yanni.
This is sort of for us and Cindy as well. Obviously with the Westpac building about to be, with changes happening to the Westpac building, I've got a few questions around the Oromava extension, and I got quite a lot, so I figured to save staff time and Cindy's time and everyone else's time, if we have an ETA yet on that Oromava extension briefing that we've requested, just because once that starts to develop a bit more, I feel like there are going to be a lot more questions from the public as well. So being able to answer that and know what we're allowed to say and not say as well, and get all our questions out. So I'm just wondering if we've still got that plan.
So it's on my board. Staff are aware that it's been requested, and they are keen to provide the board with that briefing. However, it's just a case of timing, especially with the council just going through that annual plan process. It's taking a bit of staff time, especially with some of the things that they've got within the annual plan. So as soon as they've got the capacity, then by all means, they'll absolutely lock in a time.
Okay.
It's on my board, it's on my to-do list. It won't go away until it's been delivered.
Sweet, thank you.
Okay, Martin?
Mm-hmm.
The Banks Peninsula and Coastal Hazards Adaptation Panel that I'm on. Just to let you know that the timeline has been extended out by a long way, and there's so much work to get through that they've taken it back to 3 weekly meetings, and they're expected to be finished in April 2024. So it's a very, very long process, and there's a lot to ask from any community that's been involved, especially the residents that have been involved in this process. And the next tranche for their work has not been decided yet, and it could change from the coastal water to another area. There's lots of people putting their hands up for it.
Which is a change from what it was like before the process started, right?
Yes.
Nobody wanted to do it.
And it's quite noticeable how the actual I suppose the outlook from people has changed from sea level rise to actual climate affected events because of what's happened up in the North Island. So there's more concern about the rain coming down the hills into the rivers than just the sea level rising. So,
90% of human change occurs within a crisis.
yeah, so you know, it's the focus has kind of been altered a little bit in residents' perspective, but the council perspective is still the sea level rise. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Yanni.
Just wanted to raise the concern that we're not getting full transparency of our briefings, and I wonder if we could request the chief executive to reflect on the ombudsman's report into the transparency of the council and ask for better records to get of things that are discussed at briefings when they're in public exclusion.
Not to be process-wise, I think this sounds like a notice of motion rather than a request for information, Yanni.
Okay.
So the reason I say that is because
doing a notice of motion to the community board, or well, I mean, happy to take advice, but I just was concerned after the craft briefing, like when I've looked at the minutes of the briefing, that there's no detail to what was said for like the questions and the answers, and a lot of the information on the presentation doesn't reflect actually what's been done.
So I have asked and have been assured that there'll be a response to some of the questions that you have raised. So I'm waiting to hear back. But I'm just thinking, just in terms of what this members' information is for, like we can ask for information. What is the information you're wanting?
How we can create better records of our briefings that are in public excluded, so that we can get transparency around the information that's provided.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy because it would be useful to have once the reason for being in public excluded, which may, depending on what that is, it would be useful to have have availability of information.
Because even the craft one, I kind of wonder whether we need a test around, because the craft one to me shouldn't have been in public excluded anyway.
Well, the thing is, the other, so two things, and then we'll go to Kelly. One is that the Lagoma is for decisions in particular. So decision must be made, and publicly, except if there's a good reason not to, and and those reasons for if you're not need to be really clear. So we provide information on a free and frank basis, and we as a community board and the community board chairs have also asked this is to make sure it's really clear when we can and can't share information and why not. So that's where they're catching up with that. So now I'm going to go to Kelly.
I think the facts show that that we are more transparent than we were in terms of briefings. However, I take Yanni's point, and I wonder whether it would be possible for us to, if we are going to do PX briefings, that we actually maybe even at the very least just explain what the topic is that we'll be discussing, even if we can't give the details. I don't know whether that's acceptable or not.
Well, that's supposed to be. I think the briefing agenda is usually public. Public by which I mean it is available to the public. What we are being briefed on. What I wanted to say is that I am a fan of proactive release, and so when I think it should be a default setting that when the information should be released to the public as soon as possible, and it should be made really easily accessible. And part of it is that, as community board members in particular, we get access to only a slight bit of more information than the general public do. And so it'd be good to have that information to be more accessible. So in principle, I want a proactive release as soon as possible. But in order for us to make good decisions, we need to be fully informed. And there is a host of considerations to be taken into account. I think that as the council, as an institution is it's too easily goes towards having things with eyes only as such. It would be good if we could have a system which tended the other way.
Yeah, can I just suggest that the craft briefing wasn't anything to do with decision making? In fact, what it was to do with was a response to public questions that have been asked about the progress on craft. It was the process by which the community is supposed to be updated, including the community board and the local councillor. So to have that in public excluded and then not have a record of the things that were discussed, I don't think is very transparent. And so I think there's two issues. There's the stuff that we do discuss in public excluded in a briefing that we then need to make a call. How do we record what's discussed and release it? But then there's also the question about should we be going into public excluded for briefings, which is supposed to be updates, of public information that's been requested. And if we shouldn't, then or if we should, then how is that information recorded and then released?
So if just to distill it down to its core, it's like the question in terms of a request for information is how is the information that is shared in public excluded briefings recorded so that it can later be shared with the public?
Yeah, and should we be going to public excluded to start with in terms of briefings?
Yeah. So I'm happy to ask for those questions to be asked.
So could we just
answer if you want? I can answer a part of it if you want now, otherwise we can follow it up later.
Well, I think because the decision isn't your decision, I think because when staff come and give us a briefing, like to use the graphic briefing, that's the decision has been made prior to. So it's not really, so I don't think you need to answer that. But I think it's the CEO that needs to answer that.
So you'd like me to record something, Paul?
Yes, please. All right, with that in mind, that's it. We've got, we're
transparency.
Yeah. I've got something in my eye.
Okay. What?
So it was the board asks or requests an explanation of how information that is shared in PX briefings is recorded / noted so that it can be shared later with the public. And the second one is I guess the question is what are the reasons for briefings being what's the word? Briefings being presented in public excluded. How's that? Everyone happy with that?
I think it should be is instead of are, do you think? Or
I will do the wordsmith when we get
Yeah,
back.
okay.
So write that now.
All right, happy with that. All right, do we have any other?
Just, I can send you through, if it's helpful, the Ombudsman's report and the agreed action from the Chief Executive.
Yeah.
Just to ensure records are kept of workshops and briefings. And but just the only other thing I wanted to raise was the trainer's deputation. There are a number of things in there, but I can't quite remember what we've done around things like temporary traffic management, notification to residents, but this is about a third example on that Rutherford Jubilee Ferry Road area where residents are not getting notified of things that are quite disruptive. And I just wondered if there's anything we can do in terms of advocacy to NZTA. I mean, I've personally reached out to James Cable, who's been really good, to try and follow through and give examples of things where they could be improved.
Yeah, I think as a board, we do need to be well prepared for our meeting with NZTA.
Right.
And so if anybody has any questions for them or anything you'd like to know more about within the next week, can you please send that through to me and Cindy?
Could we ask like our comms unit to like put stuff on? I know that they do post on the community Facebook pages, but where they see council getting, accused of things that's not our responsibility, are they able to sort of highlight, where they should go or what they should do, and point out that like it's a state highway? Or
Well, did Waka Kotahi post on the community Facebook pages? I don't see them do that.
no, people think it's that's the point I'm making, is people think it's council.
Yeah.
So it'd be quite useful for the council staff to say, actually, this is not council, this is it,
Depends if they see it though.
Do you want that only when there's a complaint, or do you want Waitai Coastal-Burwood-Linwood to put all of their stuff on
I think it'd be useful if
Well, some other stuff around motorbikes going through the park as well.
Yeah.
Some noise stuff.
We've asked about that previously.
So what I will do, and through Mr. Chair, is I will go through Trina's handout again, and I will pull out the ones that are CCC related and refer those to the appropriate units. The NZTA related one, I will touch base with Trina and find out whom in NZTA she's been referring or dealing with. And then I can compare that to who our contact is, and try and get appropriate steer and or some responses by the next briefing. Otherwise, I'll let you know as soon as they come through.
Cool, thank
And
you.
the queries for NZTA, we've sent you one beforehand.
Yeah.
For people to share.
Absolutely. Like if you do a reply, or if you do an email just to the community board with your NZTA questions, Paul and I will take those away and collate them. And then if there's enough time, which hopefully there will be, if we send them within the next week, then we can get them sent through to the appropriate CCC and NZTA.
Just be nice to see what people are asking to promptly them.
Yeah. So yes, to that one that goes to everyone. The thing about motorbikes is that it kind of falls between a gap, so the council doesn't have the power to enforce. The police can, but then they kind of need a number plate. The police either have to catch them in the act of going through the park, or they need a number plate. If they don't have those things, it's very difficult to enforce.
Video.
Pardon? Video may help. But it depends on the quality of the video and if you can see it, who it is. And it's a problem in all kinds of areas, all across. So what we don't have, apart from I think out of McLean's Island, is we don't really have many places for people to go on off-road within Christchurch city boundaries. There's obviously places in the peninsula and things like that. But all right, do we have any other items? All right, thank you everybody again. Well, if you'd like to join me in our karakia whakamutanga. Unahia, ki te uru tapunui, kia wātia, kia mama, te ngākau, te tina, te wairua, te ara takatau, oia rā I rongo, whakauria, kia kikiro, kia tina, hui